welcome to another edition of our Creators Assemble Limelight series. This month, we have been privileged to be given the presence of our wonderful friend of the channel and creative artist to know, and Quantal Langford. Quantal, thank you so much for being here. So I just right off the bat. We put up some of your images on the webpage here, and we're going to have some going over the video here so everybody can see. So, because we want people to see how talented you are. So what is inspiring about your work? What do you like to do?
Honestly, it's one of those to where honestly, I feel like I'm just it's, to me as scientists, I love experimenting with different things. I've told my wife, like if I wasn't a creative or a graphic designer, I would probably be like a researcher. I love coming up with theories and trying to experiment with things. And I think I've always done that since I was a kid. So I think now I've sort of went back towards that and just really just trying to experiment with just the various creative outlets that I can that I can reach out to or connect with. So as far as my main profession, I am a graphic designer, a branding expert. So I work with a lot of different clients, anything from logos to full scale brand identity rehauls. I do a lot of apparel designs, poster designs, marketing material. So that's generally what I do on a daily basis. And then well, besides that, I've got a lifestyle brand, sort of like a sister brand of my business. And I work with a lot of sports teams, MMA fighters, different athletes as far as branding their own merch and creating online stores for them or creating content for them. So that's from that facet, that's what I do. And then like I said, I have the podcast, the Creative Brew, and I bring on different entrepreneurs, creators like you and Moni, and sharing their story and really just promoting the creative lifestyle. And then I have a book that's in graphic novel is in development right now. And so, like I said, I've got some other things in the works too. But it's just one of those where even now I'm just learning how could I experiment with everything that I'm doing. So besides that, I do a lot of different coffee cups, and I place them at panels or different coffee shops. So that's something it started out as just like a little experiment at first, and then it just started snowballing from there. And then after I got the technique down as far as how I wanted to create those coffee cups, it's just I just started knocking them out, and I just either give them away or I'll have them at panels. But yeah, that's generally what I do.
Nice. The coffee cups are one of my favorite things. Because I'm always seeing your brand new designs, and every time you just kind of knock my socks off. So I love them so much. When did you kind of figure out that you had this gift of being artistically inclined?
Yeah, good question. Probably when I was in, I say about first or second grade. So I was already drawing. I mean, I think my mom and my grandma had one of my very first drawings like in kindergarten. But I probably around first or second grade, my uncle had been really artistic, and it was someone I'd looked up to. He passed away some years ago, but I'd always sort of look up to him because he was always drawing. I was always around him. And one day I was, I was actually trying to trace something, and I after I traced it, I gave it to him thinking that he wouldn't notice. And yeah, sure enough, a trained eye, is like, hey, you trace this image, and he pretty much wanted me to look at every part of the image and just copy it line by line, hand drawn, not tracing until I got the full image, and that's what I did. And after that, it just started going from there, and just drawing more, and creating all kinds of things. So yeah, I think about first second grade, that was when I knew I was a pretty good artist.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads me into my next one about who are your like creative influences? Who kind of nurtured you from the get go?
Oh yeah, and from the get go, my uncle was a very important facet. My mom, she was creative in her own right, and she actually sort of stylistically, she sort of helped me as far as just things that I was doing stylistically through my artwork through the years. But she used to make these awesome. Um, Collages and paper mache. She's always getting different things and sort of creating something. So I think from that experimentation, I think that sort of formed the basis as far as how I work with things. Um, and yeah, so definitely my mom, my uncle definitely helped with the sort of nurture that artistic ability early on. And like I said, it's just one of those where a lot of people tend to stop, or they feel like they get to a certain point to where maybe they feel like it's not the right direction for them. They sort of stop even though they can be really talented. I just sort of figured I just never stopped, and I just keep creating and keep trying to build my skill sets, and even now trying to evolve into other things.
Where does your fire kind of come from? What pushes you?
I think honestly, just trying to really just trying to reach the greatest creative expression that I could be for that day, or what I feel like I could be, and what I mean by that is even the artwork and things that I'm doing now. 5 years from now, I'm going to look back at my work and be like, oh Lord, it wasn't so good. Or I do that even 5 or 10 years. I mean, I'll look at some of my old artwork that I have just in the archives. I'm like, oh Lord, this is awful. But it's just one of those. It's just a creative process, and that's what I'm striving to do, is to um, be the best, create the best expression of what I can put out in the world. And so for me, I mean, I see myself still creating 10, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. I've always been a great fan of like Walt Disney, Stanley, a lot of those people that was just still creating until their 90s. That's what I want to do.
That shows that you got the passion inside of you, and you have that desire to just kind of to keep making these things.
Yeah.
It's really nice because a lot of people will that as a lot of people kind of mature up, they tend to let it go by the wayside, and they give away their artistic creativity and their passions, and they trade it in for your 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
And kind of lose it a little bit there. But as you kind of mentioned, you kind of found that 9 to 5 job, so to speak, by and also being able to incorporate it and bring it in for you as well. Was that kind of an idea that originally that you wanted to do?
Uh, no, not really. You know, it's sort of weird. I've learned so much after college. It's one of those where I definitely learned a lot of foundational principles, especially in graphic design and art in college. But it really, honestly, it doesn't prepare you for for real life. And yeah, it was just one of those where I was sort of content with after graduating, getting a design job, 9 to 5 design job, and doing something that I was happy with. That really didn't pan out. So it was just one of those where after a lot of attempts, I'd been doing some freelance work on the side, but nothing to where I just went full time with it. Um, but yeah, with the blessings of my wife, I finally decided to, hey, look, I emailed my clients, people I was working with, say, hey, look, I'm going full time with this. So now if you need me in whatever aspect, that's I'm available. So yeah, I mean, definitely slow at first, but now it's starting to build up more now. And so, like I said, I had a lot of people I've been working with for years, and then like I said, I'm always adding on new clients. So yeah, it definitely didn't start out. I did not plan at all to have a podcast and to have a business and a apparel brand, and I've always wanted to work in comic books, but um, even now, I'm really starting to get more serious with getting that book launched. But yeah, never in a million years would I thought I'd be doing all the things that I'm doing now.
Yeah. It's kind of fun to just, you always think you're going to go one direction, and boy, life really does throw the curveballs at you.
Yeah.
So, so who helps you along now? Who's your influence now? Who's your helping hands?
Oh yeah, good question. A lot of times, with entrepreneurship, it can be a lonely road at times. So, a lot of people I do, connect with through, either by phone or social media or whatnot. But I'm always listening to I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of reading. So I'm always a fan of, Gary Vee, E.T., Eric, the hip hop preacher. Big fan of Christo. He's got a creative brand, I believe, called The Future, but he helps a lot of creative entrepreneurs as far as in their industry and pricing out their artwork or their design work. So big fan of him. Um, so those are some of my you know big people that I sort of that inspires me. Um, who else? It was somebody else. Uh, Lord, I forget his last name. He's with Impact Theory, but he does a lot of sort of mindset podcasts, and then he also has a comic book company on the side called It Comics or something like that. So it's just as far as just the way that he operates, that's something that I inspire. That inspires me, and sort of pushes me. There's a lot I can even name the creators that I've always been a fan. If you ever, I mean, a lot of people see my work. I've always been inspired by Jim Lee. That is, he is like my creative, uh, on the pantheon of creative gods. That's probably Zeus for me. Um, so I've always been inspired by him. A lot of my artwork, initially was pretty much I was copying him, and then now I start to notice like other artists, and then I start to change it up a little bit. But stylistically, I've always been on the realistic side. I love Jim Lee's work. So
Yeah, well, he's a pretty high bar, and
yeah,
so that's a pretty good inspiration to be having right there.
yeah.
So, kind of take us through your process. What do you do? What's your setup? What do you do to get going?
Uh, yeah. I mean, well, as far as it really depends on as far as like just any project or just,
Uh,
um,
yeah, just creating in general. Do you have a desk setup that you kind of are comfortable with that you like to go to? Some people love the sketch on the couch kind of idea.
oh
So
yeah, yeah. Honestly, really get my best ideals when I'm either walking or I'm working out.
yeah,
Um, Usually when I sort of get away from the demands of actually having to think, then that's when the best ideals come in.
yeah,
Now it sucks sometimes because we're like, oh man, I wish I had a notepad for that. But Yeah, I mean, a lot of times if I'm thinking about a project, or if I'm working on a project, I might want to go on a power walk, or I might go work out, and it just helps me to sort of, once I get in that flow, that's when I feel like a lot of great ideas start coming in, and then it just allows me. So whenever I get back, I start sketching, or I get to the computer, I can, just go right at it. Sometimes, what happens with a lot of people is like sometimes they think about a solution and then they go straight to the computer and then look at the screen for hours upon hours trying to figure out a solution. And a lot of time I just sort of get away from it, and generally I tend to get some of my better solutions and ideals when I'm away from the computer.
nice, nice. Are you one that actually listens to music while you create?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you listen
Yep.
to?
Oh man, I listen to a lot of. I tend to listen to like a lot of sort of chilled out, like lo-fi music. I'm a real big fan of. Man, I love. Honestly, I'm a big Radiohead fan.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Zero 07, James Blake, Tom Mitch. He's a British artist. So I tend to listen to a lot of like chilled out instrumentals or music. Um,
Low and just kind of
yeah. So it's
something.
usually when I sort of get in that flow, it's when I'm really going. So
That's nice. That's actually really kind of cool. Because I've heard, a couple different people. Sometimes some people will go really hard and really loud, and it really influences their style. And so I can see it in your style too. That it definitely does have that lo-fi kind of kick to it. So
yeah.
that's actually kind of fun. That's really interesting. Um, so um, so your work is really kind of interesting. It's you have a really unique kind of flavor to it. So what do you try to tell anything with your artwork? Are you trying to share any kind of messages with your work that you do?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me that. Yeah, generally, a lot of the things that I create, I usually have some kind of message around it. It sometimes it could be more subliminal, but there's generally a message with a lot of my work. Even with I'm real big in the sort of mindset, inspirational space. So even with the creative brew, it sort of allows me to create a lot of stuff, a lot of things sort of around that um, genre. And I've always, like I said, for me, I've always wanted to be like a motivational speaker. So with the Creative Brew, it just helps me to sort of express that in the best way possible. So a lot of times, a lot of quotes is just things that I may have heard or things that sort of I'm just thinking about, or it could be quotes from people that's been on the podcast. So I think just putting out that inspiration, I think not only helps me out, but it helps the whole creative community out. And I think I'm a big believer as once what you give out, you get it back. So it's just one of those where I mean I want to give out inspiration and motivation and knowing that there's an audience for everyone's artwork. Don't ever feel like you're horrible because no one's seeing it. You, like I said, you just have to connect with the right audience, and you'll have your right audience. Just be consistent, keep working, and they'll show up. So, but yeah, I think that's those are some of the things that as far as I want to put out, as far as being someone that's creating on purpose and in creating something that I may want to inspire others. I've always wanted to do that. Even with the book, I have a lot of subliminal things with the graphic novel that I'm working on. So it's a lot of things with you know even between the concepts of you know technology against humanity and just a lot of spiritual concepts and so it's just things like that. Like I've always been um pulled towards to to sort of share that out, and maybe that's something that I am reaching, I'm trying to express even more, and that's something that sort of inspires me every day.
No, I mean, that's kind of one of your big kicks is that you like to inspire, and I can see it in everything that you do, and especially with the creative brew. And what's one of the fun things that you do with the creative brew is you always ask people, what's a piece of advice that you would give, that you'd like to share. And I'm curious, what's one of the best pieces of advice that you picked up on doing that?
Oh wow. Cause God Lord, it's been so many. Probably more of I think one of the um more recent ones is probably one I had on probably about a week or so ago, and just talking about just uh, being in the eye of your storm, and knowing that there's always all kinds of things that's going on a daily basis. But if you can learn to be as present and as calm as possible, you'll make the right decisions for whatever you need to do, or you'll create from a place to where you're not in a reactionary mode, or you're I mean, it's like anything like that. I mean, sometimes we can make dumb decisions when we're stressed out. Um, we can make irrational decisions. So learning how to be uh, as present and calm as possible within your own personal storm. That's something that I think sort of resonated with me about a week ago. So
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I've never heard that before, and that's actually kind of really nice. Uh, Makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
Uh, so with with everything you do, I mean, you juggle a lot of balls. You got a lot of things in the air all the time, but you are a big workout guy, and I seen that you're also a big wrestling guy.
yeah.
Um, where did the wrestling come from? Was that a high school thing that you kind of jumped into originally?
Yeah,
And
all my uncles wrestled in high school. One of them wrestled in college. So I wrestled through like middle school, high school, and college. And so yeah, I've always just sort of grown up around it. My family was a really athletic family. I actually ran track and cross country too in high school. But yeah, I've always sort of grown up around it, and just raised up through it, and a lot of my family members, either wrestled or played basketball or ran track. So it's just one of those where it's just it sort of stuck with me. I initially tried to play basketball. Uh, After I got cut, figured out that I wasn't the best at basketball in middle school, so I ended up switching to wrestling, and it sort of just stuck with me. And I just kept working at it, and so I did well in high school, did good in college, and so after that, I coached a couple of years in college and some high school, and yeah, from there, I end up out here and never thinking that I would probably be coaching again, and found myself coaching at a gym out here, and I help train MMA athletes. So I think I've always sort of been one of those where I've always been a coach to somebody. I've dealt with so many different kids or different people in various walks of life that I think that just stays with me. And I think being able to share certain messages to people sort of relates to me, being able to communicate different ideals in my artwork or design work.
that's actually kind of funny because I was going to say that you're somebody that likes to inspire people and kind of give them spotlight, really help them along the way. And it's that coaching gene that's kind of inside of you too, where it's you kind of want to push people to be their best, and so clearly we can see that kind of comes into play again back in with the Creative Brew TV there as
Yeah.
well.
Yep. That is, yeah, something that I'm passionate about, is figuring out. I really believe that everybody has a uh, some kind of talent or gift. You probably got more than one gift. You probably got three or four gifts that a lot of people just aren't sharing for whatever reason. And everybody has their own personal history, but with the show, I want to be able to not only share other people's stories. I love stories. I love sharing stories. I love creating stories, but I also want to give some wisdom and insights that's helped me out, and sharing that to other people within the creative community or even the entrepreneurial space, and helping them to just be the best person that they can be from a either personally, creatively, you know entrepreneurially. So to me, that's what I'm trying to do with the show.
Nice. So I guess then let's go with that. What's one piece of advice, to a brand new kid that's kind of coming up here, just starting out in the world, trying to be creative? What do you tell them?
Uh, that's a good one. Absorb everything that you can, and then deconstruct it. And this is actually taken from Bruce Lee, actually from Bruce Lee's book, and he talked about with the way he with his style and the things that he was learning from a philosophical standpoint, as well as martial arts. They sort of go hand in hand, but um, he talked about absorbing everything that you can from various people, absorb it into your style until you're able to sort of deconstruct everything and create your own unique style. Um, and so that's something that I would, for young artists or creators, absorb everything that you can, absorb every the way people walk, the various walks of life, absorb conversations, absorb food, experience life, try different things, experiment, um, put all of that into your creative your creative arsenal, and then deconstruct it to where you get to a point to where you can let things go, and then you get to your own authentic expression of yourself.
Nice. That's really good. So, Quantal, you've been fantastic, and we just love you so much over here. Please, what do you have to hype right now? What do you want to share with everybody?
Oh wow, man, probably. I've got one thing. I'm gonna leave it for a future date because I don't want to just say I'm doing this. But I think right now, obviously just hyping up the podcast. I'm getting close to episode 100. So the Creative Brew, like I said, it's on Instagram, Facebook. I usually release out new episodes every Tuesday. Um, Through video, audio, and the radio show. I have an internet radio partner with Helium Radio, so I've got new episodes as well as past episodes on there. And then, yeah, probably besides that, really pushing on the book. It's called Seed. The first book is Seed, Some with a Resonant. So it's got a lot of things in it. I think it's gonna be an interesting book. I don't want to give too much into. I don't know. I guess I could, but the first couple of pages start out in Oceanside, and
Okay.
so something crazy happens, but it just deals with a lot of things with homelessness, with mental issues. Um, Having I call it people have called it a soul family, where you may not be connected, by blood per se, but you find those people that you can resonate with on a real deep level. Um, those are some of the things, some of the concepts that that I play with. Obviously, with the scientist part of me, we are dealing with quantum entanglement and metaphysics and multiple dimensions. So what I'm doing is sort of crafting all that into a. I think it's going to be a very unique story. So obviously you have a certain object that comes in, it hits Oceanside, and then something and just incredible happens, and then it cuts to 10 years later, and then you sort of start seeing the effects of what happened previously. So I think it'll be a good story.
Nice. Nice. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll make sure we'll hype the hell out of that when it comes out.
So that is my dream project right now. That's something I've been researching, developing, and got a lot of the characters sort of drawn out. So I think for me is really the biggest thing is really trying to tie it down. I'm real big on, I love creating concepts and ideals. I just have to tie it down and sort of create this actual story. But yeah, that is my dream project. I plan on having a series of it, so I want it to be a first book of maybe 3 or 4 books. But yeah, we'll see. Once I get it published, I'll definitely be really pushing it, and I'll let you know when it's out. So
Absolutely. We'll be all over it too. Where can people find you on social media?
yeah, probably the best place, because I'm sort of posting out from everywhere. Probably the best place is on Instagram at Quantal Langford, Quantal Langford. I should be the only one on Instagram with that. So yeah, that's the best place. So if you're interested in any of my coffee cups, or you're needing design services, interested in possibly the book whenever it comes out, or even with the shows, that's probably the main access point, is reaching me from there. And then obviously, you can get into my little creative world and go to, try out, Just Heart or the Cradle Brew or Seed or, the Langford design. So I've got different things that, there's just sort of multiple expressions of myself. That's all it is.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Quantal, you've been incredible. Your work is incredible, and trust me, you're been a huge supporter of us, and we just in turn always got to be a supporter of you. So make sure you head over to creatorsassemble.org where you can check out Quantal in the Limelight Gallery. You can check out all his cool works. All the links to all his pages are there as well, so you won't miss out on a single thing. And while you're there, if you'd like to be part of the Limelight too, just go ahead, sign up, and also make sure you sign up for our newsletter as well, and keep you posted on upcoming events that are coming your way. Again, thank you so much, Quantal.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.